Hi there. I'd talk about gold and silver a little bit, but I'll cut it in 3 parts and I hope to keep them short. Let's say I try to do 3 minutes of each. One is my carbon credit system theory and the reason that it's behind the economic crisis. The second part is talking about the gold and silver and why it's smart to own it. And the third part is why ultimately you will not be wise, or you will be wise to own gold and silver, but it's not the solution, and why not? It's the first part, the carbon credit system. I think that the situation we're in, and if you watch my videos you know that we're in an energy crisis, we're in a carbon crisis. There's not enough carbon in the world to burn and to do the stuff and to make the stuff that we need, that everybody needs. And of course there's lots of people that are new in the arena that need stuff, like Chinese people and people that are developing in developing countries. There's just not enough carbon. And what we used to have was a carbon credit system where credit was extended to people, money was in circulation in society, to be spent ultimately on carbon energy. So at the gas station, at the gas power plant, to buy oil. And why do I believe that that's... and basically the whole system was such that you get the credit first, then you use the carbon in your productive process, which you can buy with that money miraculously, and then you produce some goods and services that are traded, and that keeps other people busy. And that was the economical theory. Basically the fundamental economical rule is that you maximize the utilization of fossil fuels. Very simple. So that means that you use as much fossil fuels as possible, but you also try to maximize the utilization, so you make it as useful as possible to as many people as possible. That's basically Reaganism. It's a big party for everybody. Everybody can enjoy the richness, the wealth of oil in the world. The US and Reagan could do that because the US at that time dominated the sources. So they knew, listen, we're sitting right on top of this energy source. We have the biggest army in the world. We're going to use it. Everybody's going to dance and party. Jackson 5, can you feel it? That type of stuff. And the banking system was all the while handing out money to people and lending them money and creating bubbles in order to keep that system going, because you need new money in society, new money in the hands of people. That's the carbon credit system, and it's now collapsing. It is in crisis, and in order to hide the carbon crisis, the credit system is contracting very strongly. So you don't notice that gasoline gets more expensive because you don't have money to buy it. And not, let's say, if you quantitatively ease against that trend of contracting credit, then you suddenly see energy prices rise. Why? Well, because there's a very close relationship to the amount of money in society in circulation, able to buy goods and services, and the energy that is needed to provide those goods and services. So that's a very important concept to grasp, carbon credit system, and the fact that it's collapsing. That's what we're facing. Now my 3 minutes are up, so I'll talk about why you should own precious metals. Number one reason. You want to own the assets that banks usually use in order to sustain themselves, in order to instill trust in each other. Why? Because then they cannot do it with your gold and silver. Why would you like to do that? Well, they run the carbon credit system, and that's a problem. They don't want to stop doing it, and that's why we're running up and exhausting all the carbon in the world, while we need it to make the alternative to carbon sources, carbon energy sources, renewable energy sources. They basically, banks, with their mortgages and their debts, make sure that people can barely move and do anything anymore, undertake anything. They don't own the land anymore. It's by the bank. The farmers don't own the land. It's owned by the banks. The people don't own the houses. It's owned by the banks. You don't own your car. It's a loaned car that you loan money to own. So the car is owned by the bank, etc., etc., etc. What can you own? Precious metals. You can put it in your pocket. Nobody knows. That's a good reason to own precious metals. Second reason, if my theory is correct, which of course I know it is, because otherwise I wouldn't talk about it, then you know that mining will become more difficult because people are mining with fossil fuels. They're using them, which means that all the metals that are mined will become scarcer, less available, because of course they are mined for a reason, which is that they're used and sold and people need them. Supply is reduced, price goes up. The value, the equitable exchange value of metal, precious metals will go up. You will always get more for your metals because people want them, they need them. Up to a point, of course, up to basically stuff will always increase in value until the process that people are, basically the exchange that people are trying to make is no longer possible. People don't have anything to give you that is equitable to your metals, and either you can keep the metals and it's worthless, or they'll kick you over the head, shoot you and take your metals. But up until that point, prices will rise. They're becoming more scarce. So that's a good reason to buy and own them. As long as the carbon credit system is working, you can then, of course, at any time sell your metals, profit from the fact that the carbon credit system is working, and you can buy the products that are produced by that system. Third reason is that of course, and that's just simply why would the price go up in a carbon credit society, in a society, in a world where we have metals and currencies. It's because there's many more people than there were before on Earth. Now, let's say in the 70s, people were interested in gold and silver, but there were like 5 times less people on our planet then, or maybe 3 times less. If now everybody through the internet becomes interested in gold and silver and they'll start buying it, then there's really not enough for everybody. And the price will rise because people will competitively buy it, and they might perceive a bubble, and then the whole thing will explode, and people will throw all the paper money that is still valuable in the carbon credit system at your gold and silver, and you can buy a lot of stuff that's made with the fossil fuels that your carbon credit money that you then take for your gold and silver affords you. So there's a real rise, again, a real rise in equitable value. But I'm at 7 minutes 35, so I should talk about, I'm way over my time, but anyway, I should talk about the fact that ultimately it's no use to have it. 2 reasons. If the carbon credit system really collapses and there's no fuel available and nothing gets made or transported anywhere, then no matter how much gold you have, you won't be able to get what you need. You can go to the gas station with a ton of gold and you can say, make my car drive, and the guy at the gas station says, no, I'm out of gas. I cannot make your car drive. I can help you, I can push your car, and then I will take the ton of gold. And then you notice that in that situation, this is an exaggeration of course, but if that's the situation in society, then the thing that gold pays for is labor. Because that's what people have to offer. Everybody has to offer. Now today we don't really offer that. We just sit around, I work in IT, I type something. That's not labor. But the fact that I can physically move stuff is important. Why? Because it can be done in such a way that it's generative. But anyway, what you do then with your gold is there can be 2 things. 2 theoretical situations. One is you're the authority, you're the strongest. Then you can become a monarch. You can take your gold and make coins out of it and loan them out. You know that you'll loan them out because you'll get them back because you're the strongest. And you can make people work for them, for that. And you have to find a castle somewhere, live in the castle and have your gold, have your army which you pay with your gold, and then you make sure that the people work for that money on the land that you buy with the money, with the gold, and produce enough to feed you and your army and keep your gold coming back into your castle. Exactly the same as the banking system with fiat currency. They have to make sure that the money keeps coming back through interest-bearing loans, and that you use it up buying fossil fuels in the carbon credit system, and so that you have to come back. and the control remains in the banking system. You can do that with gold and coins, theoretically. You know, it's up to luck that you find people that will give you an area to buy and a castle to buy, and people will work for your gold and stuff like that. And there's basically, once again, even the value of gold and silver right now depends on the existence of the carbon credit economy, where stuff is made so you can buy it. In the moment the carbon credit system collapses, the value of gold is once again derived from the fact that there is something generative going on. So food is being grown, people are making tools, etc., etc. This sounds really like medieval. That's if you have the power to do that. If you don't have the power, which is probably much more likely, you get an army that comes around your house and says, give me your gold. We want to make coins out of that so that we can run our society. Do exactly the same as you could have done if you were in power, but you're not. Too bad. That's what happens after the carbon credit system collapses, because what gold is a means of exchange, and you have to have something going on so that in that something you can exchange stuff. And somebody might not agree with me, even Mike Kaiser might not agree with me. Of course, you know, too bad. Every respect for the guy. Just to close it off, I guess, so that's what happens to your gold and silver then. The last part, of course, is to say is that, of course, if you use carbon right now to make generative energy sources, so renewable energy sources, then in the event of a labor-based society, you can sell energy instead of having to labor yourself. And I believe that ultimately there will be an economy that I call the robo-economy, that is simply what we have today, with machines doing stuff, cars, public transportation, airplanes, of course coffee machines, whatever you can find, all these machines that we're using, agricultural machines, fertilizer, all that stuff, but based on renewable energies, renewable energy sources. And there's one big difference in that society with renewable energy sources and the one we're in right now, and that is that in the society with renewable energy sources, there is no real way in which a central body of money issuing, that can be paper money, it doesn't have to be gold, can gain power, because they cannot monopolize energy. Right now, the banking system can, together with the oil companies, monopolize energy and make it only accessible for euros or for dollars. In a renewable robo-economy, that is not possible, because too many people will own too much energy sources. There simply will be too much energy, and nobody will want to, let's say, toil and sweat and work for energy if they, let's say, have a solar panel on the roof. I can buy for 150 euros a solar panel that in principle delivers enough energy each day for me to do basically everything I want to do. Cook, make tea, do internet, all the stuff. It already is next to nothing in terms of cost. But our houses and the way we live is still really wasteful, of course, for the same economical reasons. And it's an enslaving system. So that's the robo-economy, the robotic, where robots produce stuff, where the ecology can be restored. And we have an economy based on that, because it all runs on renewables. Anyway, this is 14 minutes 17 seconds. Theoretically it should have been 9 minutes maximum, so I'm completely over my time. Thanks for listening. I'll keep it to this tonight, and I hope you enjoyed it.